I had a mechanical on my bike. My blip box on my felt was shot. And without that, I wasn't going to be able to shift at all.
I ended up on the ground. One of the volunteers caught me, but my bike bore the brunt of it.
I found out a month ago that I'm losing my job. I've had a lot of shit. I focused on this race because I wanted this to be something for me.
So 15 days ago, I did St. George, and now I'm here. And, I'm proud of that, but that's also a really foolish thing to do.
I had not looked at my total time at all throughout the entire day. And so when it finally got to my watch and I saw my time,
I wanted it so bad for myself to prove that I know what's best for me.
swim was fast.
That was.
Yeah, those buoys, they came quickly. Yeah, it was fast. I think my swim time was 35 and some change. Previous year it was 37:38, but actually Tiffany said that we would do about a 35 and she was spot on.
Yeah, for all the years I've done this race, this is my fastest swim. Happy with that.
I didn't seem to think the swim was as fast as I was expecting. I mean, I still came out under 32, but it didn't feel like I really was moving at, an exponential clip down the river. But I felt good, felt fine, I'm happy with it.
Got to my bike. I think I had it all laid out quite well. Got my helmet on, got my cleats on, unracked my bike, told Colin to come get me because we were right there together. And
Yeah, we were putting our shoes on at the same time.
yeah, we were. So that was cool to have that right then and there. Made it to the mountain line, no problem. Shortly after that, Colin came by.
Uneventful. I mean, I'm not as fast as Caitlin, but goals for the future. But out of the water, ran up this steep hill,
That steep hill.
all the way down the parking lot, which was awesome because we were right by bike exit, and set off for my eventful bike ride.
Just yesterday, I realized, was it yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my gosh, things are a blur. It was just yesterday that I had a mechanical on my bike that I had to tend to. My blip box on my felt was shot, which is kind of the brains of my bike, and without that I wasn't going to be able to shift at all. So yesterday was a bit of an emotional roller coaster, but the bike shop we went to at Trek, Steven and David, oh my gosh, what they did for me, they saved my race today. And I wanted to have the best bike that I could, not only for myself, for Tiffany, for Colin, but I also wanted to do it for Steven and David at the Trek shop because I could see that they really cared about my bike and for my performance and to get me back going. And there were a lot of ins and outs yesterday. I won't get too deep into it, but I had that in the back of my head. I was like, if it wasn't for these two guys, I wouldn't be here right now. So I'm gonna hammer it down. Tiffany and I had discussed last night power on the bike and how we would handle it. And I had that number in my head and I went for it and I stayed with it all day. Previous years, halfway point on the bike, I just start the fade. I just could never hold the power, but that was not the case today. I think the training that we did on the bike, we always had long, hard intervals at the end of the bike, which, because we've done that, I was able to maintain the power that I wanted to throughout the 56 miles.
Well, when I got settled in on the bike, I felt great because I knew my swim time was good. I know this course really well, and I was hoping for a really smooth, uneventful bike ride. Got to the first aid station and the athlete in front of me missed the bottle, slowed down trying to grab it, I'm not even sure, but it turned into a tumble where I ended up on the ground. One of the volunteers caught me, but my bike bore the brunt of it. The whole incident was maybe 20 seconds. Like, they helped me right back up onto the bike and I was like, I don't know what happened, but I'm just gonna go. And about 200 yards in, I realized that there might be a problem here because my aero bars went from being like this to like this. Oh. And when I tried to shift, I realized I only had about 4 gears available to me. And I thought about stopping. but I didn't. And I did the final, 35 miles of the bike. I couldn't get into aero anymore. I only had really 4 gears, and I had to like sort of awkwardly lean forward to shift the gears. So I honestly don't know how I got through the bike. I guess I'm angry and stubborn, but there was a massive sense of relief to get to the end, because the road was kind of bumpy, and on the bumps, my bike was shifting without me touching the levers, so I didn't really know what was even wrong. But I was gonna bike until I couldn't anymore, and I brought it all the way back to Chattanooga, racked it, and I guess tomorrow I'm figuring out what the damage is.
Hey, I know a good bike shop.
I know this course really well. This is the third time that we're going through it. So I knew it was going to be a little bit of a slow weave in and out, just getting out of town. So I kind of anticipated that, expected that, just try to be smart, just find as much rhythm as I possibly could. It was nice. Colin came by me pretty early, and I was like, all right, he's gonna have a good day. Shortly after that, Caitlin came by me, and I'm like, all right, they're gonna go crush it. I just hope that they stay strong. So that kind of gave me a boost, knowing that they were out ahead of me on the road. I had a power goal in mind, and I wanted that to kind of be my carrot that I was chasing. And I think probably about 10 miles into the ride, I was actually at that goal. And so I was like, all right, now if you just maintain this for the rest of the ride, you're golden. But I felt pretty strong, and I was going through my gears. I was finding that sweet spot as far as like cadence and power. And so my power just kept going up and up and up and up. And it also doesn't hurt that there's a lot of climbs that you got to do 300, 400, and I actually saw 544 watts for a very brief time, but I saw 500 watts for a little bit. So that'll get that normalized power average up there pretty good. I thought about the Andrews Hill, and every year I forget, it's really not that steep. It's just, continuous. And I just got up Andrews, and I love passing people up that hill. And every time I get to the top, I'm like, why do I always think this hill is so bad? Everybody hypes it up. I mean, it's not easy, but it's not awful either. Once I got that, then you have a nice downhill, and I just played on the rollers all day. I really played the course. I think I executed probably about 90% as good as I could have done today. I probably left a little bit of time out there, maybe being a little bit tentative or a little bit hesitant, but I can't complain. I ended up like 7 watts over my goal. My time, I'm not completely happy with the time. I really wanted to go sub 3. I didn't. I also had a kind of a bike issue where I almost lost some kit off the back of my bike, so I did have to stop and pull over and deal with that. It was a short stop, but nonetheless it cost me time. But I didn't quite get the time goal I wanted, but I'm okay with the power, because that was ultimately what I needed to do to execute. And I can't control necessarily what the time is, but I can control my effort, and I did that.
I was absolutely fired up and pumped for the performance I just had on the bike, and I think that just propelled me onto the run. My T2 went really smoothly. Racked my bike, took my helmet off, cleats off. I slipped into my socks and my shoes, and then I had my base salt container and sunglasses wrapped up in my hat and my bib. So I just grabbed all that and started making my way out.
I was feeling frazzled, frustrated, and sore. I knew my ankle was hurting, but I didn't know how I was going to feel on the run. So like I said, I can get really stubborn during these races, and I set off not knowing what I had or how long it was going to take or if I was going to finish. But I was trying to put what happened at the first aid station behind me. My bike looks ridiculous, being racked, and aero bars are like falling off. But hey, the bike was done, and now it was time to run. This is my best discipline. I was going to see what I had.
I think this is the first time I've ever fully executed transition without just kind of dawdling through and just looking at the clouds and seeing, oh, what a beautiful day it is, or just fumbling through things. More like fumbling through things is how I get through transition. But that wasn't today, and I was just really eager to see what my body was going to do in that first couple of miles on the run, because I knew whatever I did in the first couple of miles was going to set the tone. And I was also looking forward to hearing how Colin and Caitlin were doing, because I knew that hopefully if they were having a good day, that was just gonna lift me up. DJ, you were there. You told me what Caitlin's bike speed was, the average bike speed was, and I was like, oh yeah, she's doing exactly what we talked about. So I knew she wasn't gonna let it go on the run. So I knew she was gonna be out there and probably finish miles and miles ahead of me, and I was okay with it.
I think I nailed my nutrition on the bike, and that set me up for a solid run. The first full loop of the run, I felt amazing. Like I had never felt that good. And once I got to the second loop, all I knew that I needed to maintain. That's all I had to do. I didn't have to go any faster, I just had to maintain. Tiffany and I had discussed paces for the first 2 miles of the 13.1. And I may have come in a little 45 seconds faster on both of those first 2 miles, but I was like, I feel good, and I don't feel like I'm really pushing it. So I just knew that I had to maintain. There's a pretty solid climb on the backside. I was like, I'm not gonna walk this, but I'm not gonna burn any matches either. And I didn't walk a single bit except through the aid stations. I did allow myself to walk through the aid stations at a good pace, but I told myself, get everything that you need, and that'll carry you through to the next station. It was pretty much gel, water, ice, grab a gel for the next aid station. Every third aid station, I took a lick of base salt. I think it was mile 10, I went for my base salt and somehow I dropped it, but I was like, you know what, it's fine, no big deal. I knew that a sub-2 run was like within reach, and I just kept pounding it through. I was like, I could slow down, I'm not gonna lie, but I need to just keep powering through, because I know that sub-2 hour run that I have done before, but I haven't done it in several races, and I wanted to go sub-2 on the run so badly, so I kept it right here. Positive mindset right there.
So I got out on the run. I heard that Caitlin was having a great day, and that just made me really happy. I think that set the tone for the run I was gonna have. As I was coming out of transition, I think I kind of fumbled my watch a little bit. So at some point in the first mile, I paused my watch. And when I realized it, I resumed it, but I knew that my watch splits and the course markers were gonna be off. And so I had to tell myself, okay, just keep that in mind, but nonetheless, just try to stay with your time goals, with your pace goals. I didn't look at my watch on the first 2 splits that it gave me, because I really wanted to allow myself the time to settle in and check in with myself and have that conversation with, how do you feel right now? Can you maintain this pace? Can you go a little faster? I didn't want the watch or the pace or the number on my watch to dictate, to play mind games with me. So if I was going a little slower, or if I was going a little faster, I didn't want to know it. I just wanted to find that groove. So after the second split, I finally looked at my watch and I saw like a 9:40, which was well under the target pace that I was shooting for today. And so I'm like, okay, I can maintain this. If I just run this pace for the rest of the day, I'm gonna be golden, and I'm gonna get what I came for. And so every mile, every split, I would look at my watch, and it was right around that time. It kind of fluctuated a little bit, but I never went over 10-minute miles until mile 11. But even then, that was just minimal. And so every split, I was just gaining confidence. I was looking at my watch and I was like, I'm feeling good. And then there were some mile splits that were actually kind of fast. And I'm like, wow, I'm picking up speed. I made it to the halfway mark and got to that turnaround. And I remember last year, I just was running across the pedestrian bridge a year ago. I'm like, I don't have any more to give. I'm just gonna have to like run on fumes to get to the finish line. When I was running over the bridge today, and when I was making that second loop, you know, you always want to go left to the finish. When I was making that second loop, I was like, all right, it's time to go to work. It's time to see if I can go get that negative split. So I played some kind of like training games with myself. One of my favorite workouts is doing over-unders, where I run a little bit faster for a half mile, a little bit slower for half a mile, and just kind of repeat that. So I tried to do that, maybe not necessarily half mile intervals, but I did try to kind of like pick up the pace and dial it back and pick up the pace and just kind of push where I could push. A lot of times I pushed on the downhills, really taking that free speed. When we had that steep uphill, I kept running. Like Caitlin, I didn't walk. I think I walked briefly through 3 aid stations, but not even the entire duration of the aid stations. And I knew that I was in a very good position, and with less than 2 miles to go, I was like, solid. I knew I was gonna have the run that I wanted. I didn't know what my overall time was. I never even looked at that, never even considered it, but I had a good feeling that when I turned around and looked at the clock, that it was gonna be exactly what I wanted it to be. But I felt so good, and heading into that last mile, I told myself, now it's your time. Do this for you, because it's your day, yeah.
After the bridge, you hit a split, lap 2 right, finish line left. And I tell you what, those are sweet words, finish line. I knew I was gonna be close to hit that sub 2 hour run. And that last, quarter mile? Maybe 2/10 of a mile? I don't think I've ever pushed so hard at the end of a 13.1 race. I knew that it was gonna take everything that I had to hit that sub 2. And when I finished, I hit the red carpet, and I was like, come on people, give me some love, give me some love. And I kept going as hard as I could. And once I got done, I looked at my pace, 1:59.36, and I was completely pumped with that. And like Tiff, I had not looked at my total time at all throughout the entire day. And so when it finally got to my watch and I saw my time, 5:21, I just completely smashed my PR. And I had no idea I was that close, and it just, goddamn, I just threw the bomb down. I was pumped. And then seeing Colin there too, was great.
You know, I didn't feel great through the whole run, but it felt like pain that was manageable. And like I said, I can get really stubborn doing these races. And for me, it was really a sense of relief to be able to get off of my ankle. I didn't expect it to be a PR day. 5:13 is, I mean, a year ago I was here at 5:24, and now it's 5:13. And doing that 15 days after St. George, this has been a very long 15 days. And I'm ready to eat and go to sleep, and maybe ice my ankle. But yeah, I'm super happy with what happened for me today, but I'm probably more happy for what happened for them today, and to have this kind of day for me and also be able to celebrate them at the same time. This is my favorite Chattanooga that I've ever done, like including the full that I did here in 2021.
After we finished, I was able to look at the tracker, and I saw that Tiffany, she was on time to do a 2:07 half marathon, and that was well below her goal, and I was just like, come on baby, come on, keep it going, keep it going. And I knew that if she knew she was so close, she was gonna hit it.
When I was running across Veterans Bridge, the bridge with the flags, it's about 2 miles to go at that point. I knew all I had to do was just keep it going, just keep it steady. When I got to the pedestrian bridge, there were so many people walking and struggling. It's a hot, hot day, and I just felt amazing. I don't know if it was the endorphins. I don't know if it was just repeating the mantra that I told myself all day. My mantra today was for me, for me. And I just knew I wasn't gonna let myself down. And so I came across the pedestrian bridge. There's a lot of energy once you get to the end of that bridge, some spectators that are amazing. And I saw that to finish, and Caitlin's right, it's a great feeling. Also, it's great because a lot of it's downhill, so you can also pick up some free speed there. And I can see the finish line, the red carpet getting closer and closer, and I'm like, man, I'm just gonna soak it all in, because I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this day probably for 3 years. And I got to the red carpet, and I just kind of I don't think I was a little excessive as I sometimes normally am. And then people on both sides of the rail, but the left side particularly, I think every single person on the rail had their hands out. And so I just stuck my hand out and I just felt every sense of reward in me. And then I saw the finish line and I just wanted to give it everything I could. And once I crossed that line, I was proud of myself, but I wanted to see what that time was. I was gonna be proud of myself no matter what, but I really wanted to see that sub-6 because I've been fighting so hard. I found out a month ago that I'm losing my job. And I've had a lot of shit. But you know what? I focused on this race because I wanted this to be something for me. The training I did, the dedication, the commitment, the losing the weight, the staying focused, the staying dedicated. I wanted it so bad for myself to prove that I know what's best for me. And I believe in myself, and all I got to do is just stick with it. And I did, and I know that's like way emotional and so much. But you know what? Trust myself. I always have to trust myself. And look what you did, and look what you did, and look what we did. And we all three of us get to celebrate our best day. We all had our best day at the same race. So amazing.
So you turned around, you saw the time.
About Tiffany Saunders from Austin, Texas.
I didn't know. I had a good feeling. I had a really good feeling because I knew my run was faster than I planned on it to be. I don't even know what my run time ended up being, but I knew based on the paces it was faster. And as soon as I crossed that finish line, I wanted to see it for myself. And I saw, what was it, 5:56. When I saw it up there, I just everything, every sense of emotion, every up and down, and everything that I've been through, it just came out, just unleashed. It's been a hard road, but that's what I love. This is what I love. Sharing it with them is what I love. And to have a time that's reflective of who I think I am as a triathlete, it's the icing on the cake. It's the chip in the queso. That's what we're going for. We were racing for the queso today. So let's go eat.
Let's have some queso.
45-49. Yeah, we had 2.